We get a huge update on Silovs regarding Team Latvia, including the head coach speaking out and why he did not make the team going into the Olympic qualifiers. We're going to break down this and more later on this episode. Before we start, I just want to give a huge shout out to the almost 4,300 of you guys that are subscribed. We're trying to reach 4,500 by Sunday, so make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. We'll be all off season in the next season, giving you updates about everything to do with the Canucks. Well, let's hop straight into the first topic today, which is major Silovs update. Now, obviously, you guys have seen the reports that it seemed like Silovs was set to take the starting crease for Team Latvia heading into the Olympics, or the Olympic qualifiers, I should say. But we did get a report from Team Latvia putting out their roster. You can see at the very top two names that are named as the goaltenders for Team Latvia for the qualifiers, and Silovs is not on this list. You can work your way down and see that some NHL players did make it, but it was quite strange to see that a player from the Dell League and a player from the AHL made it over Silovs, and this is where things started to get real interesting for the netminder. When we seen this tweet, you could see a translation from Latvia's head coach on Silovs, and he says he is ready to start the tournament. He is overworked. Medical staff determined that his danger limit of turning the situation into a chronic injury is high. We decided to protect him a little. Let's see. Now, obviously, this is a quote from a Latvian website. It's not going to be a direct quote. It's not going to be the most perfect quote. But seeing the word chronic injury is high, and this turning into a situation where it might be a chronic injury that's going to continue coming up is quite scary to see. Obviously, we're dealing with all this news on Thatcher Demko on the fact that he might not start the season with the Canucks as an injury or an off-season procedure, whatever it might be holding him back. But Griffin, what's your initial thoughts just not seeing Silovs make the qualifying roster, and what's your thoughts on the quote coming from the head coach?
It's a bit surprising seeing him not make that roster, considering the splash that he made in the NHL, and considering that there's not many NHLers that did make the list, but yet he was one of the ones that was left off of it, considering what he was able to do in the postseason at the end of the regular season and what he's going to be able to do heading into this season. But this doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to make the Olympic team. He still has a shot after the qualifiers to make that team eventually in 1 or 2 more years, and then we'll see from there what happens there. But as far as the coach pulling him out for it because of the injury, that is something that's very alarming and just comes out of nowhere when you think the Canucks don't have any more goalie controversy to have. Now we just add more, where it just constantly seems to be a storyline with this team, whether it's a matter of who's starting versus who's not, or whether it's an injury of who's hurt and who's not, who's had procedures, how serious is the injury, which one is which. It's hard to tell at this point, but it does seem like this comes out of nowhere, where Silovs has maybe a slight injury that could be aggravated more if he were to play in the qualifiers. So making sure that he is protected in a situation where Thatcher Demko might not play in the first little bit of the regular season. You want to make sure that both of them don't go down, and you have to resort to Jiri Patera or someone else from Abbotsford. We said in our last video how you don't want to throw someone who has to be that next man up mentality right in there to start the season. You want to go start the season. You want to set the tone to start the season properly. And I think whether you have Silovs or Demko in net, that's going to go a long way. If you don't have them, that's going to be a very, very big blow for this Vancouver Canucks team to start the season.
And the biggest thing is, obviously, with Team Latvia, losing out on Silovs is a major blow for this goaltending duo. I'm not saying this is not a good duo, because this is a duo that could play well. This is a team that's up and coming. They have young talent, they have European talent, they have NHL talent, but losing the starting goaltender, a starting goaltender that has been phenomenal for Latvia from the World Championships, from everywhere he's played with them. If you look in just 2022, 2023, Silovs was named AHL Goaltender of the Month, World Champion All-Star Team, World Champion Best Goaltender, World Champions Bronze Medal, World Champions Most Valuable Player, and the World Champions Top 3 player on his team, obviously securing bronze for Latvia in the World Championship. This is a team that wants to come into this Olympics, a team that wants to qualify. Losing a goaltender that internationally, as you can see on the bottom, for Latvia in 2020, 2021, having a .932 save percentage, a .968 the following year, and following after that a .921 in 10 games. Silovs has been outstanding, not only in the NHL playoffs, but for Latvia. You can continue on in the U18s with the World Championships, the World Juniors. Silovs has been outstanding. He's been great at every aspect, putting up a .952 in 2021, 2022. In the World Championship, you can see in the World Juniors under 18, .918 save percentage in 5 games. And in Latvia's U18 World Juniors under 18 D1A, a .960 with 2 wins and a 1 GAA. Now, obviously, them losing out on Silovs is not only bad for Silovs and Latvia, but it's bad for the Canucks, where there is a possibility that maybe there is an injury that's going to hold him out. Obviously, with these stats, he's not going to sit out for absolutely no reason. There's obviously an injury, there's something, a workload, whatever it might be. I'm sure we're going to get results in the next couple of days, but it seems like Patrik Allvin, Jim Rutherford, the Vancouver Canucks don't want to risk him getting an injury. And Griffin, what's your thoughts on if the Canucks reached out and said, hey, we don't want him to play, we can't risk him getting hurt if he's going to go in as the starting goalie next year?
I don't hate that strategy because, like you just covered there, it's not a matter of his intangibles or his stats as to why he didn't make the team. It's definitely an issue of, okay, he might have an injury. Let's play it safe. It's just a qualifier, so he definitely has a shot of still making the roster later on. So if you rest him there and just, again, he has excelled on the international stage, so it's almost like they're trying to have to see with this qualifying of who's going to be their backup goalie, potentially for him to be the starter, and just make sure that he's healthy and just well rested. If he's already got the roster spot, why put him on the qualifier unless they're just unsure if they're going to make it to the Olympics in general? But especially if Vancouver did reach out, they want to protect one of their golden gooses. Goaltending is one of the biggest keys in hockey, just whether at any level, whether it's in the postseason, the regular season, or even in the preseason, technically, just to see what those guys have. And especially if you want to have Silovs for this preseason coming up, just so he gets those NHL reps in a bit more, so he's a bit more primed for the regular season. I think that'll go a long way for him rather than playing on the international stage for sure.
And the biggest thing is, like you said, the stats aren't the reason why he's staying out. And we did see a quote coming from Woodley where he said he talked to Allvin just over 2 weeks ago. And at the time, he was excited about Silovs playing in the Olympic qualifier. Latvia was excited. Silovs was excited. But it does seem like that time is in the past for us. And it seems like Silovs will not be in the qualifier. And it kind of gets right into the second topic, which is Silovs set to take over the crease? As we were saying, there's so much going around about Thatcher Demko, about him not playing, with him sitting out for some time, him dealing with an off-season procedure. No one really knows. But looking at Silovs, seeing his stats in the postseason, in the regular season, it seems like he's set to take over quite the big workload heading into the next season with the Vancouver Canucks. If Demko's out for quite some time, Silovs is going to be the go-to guy. He's going to be the starting goaltender. If you're playing fantasy, pick up Silovs in the late rounds for sure. But the biggest thing with Silovs, and the reason why I think they're hauling him out, is Silovs does go down. You're looking at a combination of Jiri Patera and two young guys that have no NHL experience to come in and try to hold down the fort. This might work. This might turn into a situation where one of these guys flourishes like Silovs did, but you might also get into an early just season rut. And what's your thoughts on Silovs if he comes in and maybe plays 30 games to start the year, Griffin?
I like it. I think Silovs is definitely in the position to take over that top spot in the crease, especially with Thatcher Demko likely going to miss a little bit of time. Whatever the injury is, whatever the extent of it, please let it not be an ACL. Again, those are the three letters you don't want to hear as a hockey fan or just as a sports fan. So hopefully it's not that, like people are reporting in some aspects. It could be a knee, it could be a groin. But again, if that is the case, you want to have Silovs ready and getting those 30 games. At least he's getting those 30 games in the beginning of the season and rather near the middle or the end of the season. If he's getting those reps in early on in the season, yes, it'll be a bit harder to set the tone for the rest of the season. But he's getting those NHL reps in early when the games are not entirely disposable, but they're a little bit more disposable than they are towards the middle and the later half of the year when you're trying to make that playoff push or that seeding position. But if he's able to get those jitters out in the early stages, shake off whatever this small injury is before it gets serious, I think Vancouver would be in a good spot for Demko to come back, take over that crease, and have a bit more of a limited role as the season goes on, just so that he's primed for the postseason, and have Silovs kind of take a bit more of a back seat so he's just ready to go whenever that happens with Demko if he needs to rest or whatnot happens with his recovery. So I think Vancouver would be in a great spot to put him in that starting position going forward until Demko is 100% ready. Don't rush him. Don't worry about that. We know Silovs can hold it down in the crease. As long as Silovs stays healthy, I think we're in a good spot. And as long as we don't overwork him, I think we're in a better spot.
And the biggest thing is, too, if Silovs goes into the start of next year and starts to struggle a bit, you'd rather it happen early. He'd be able to get his footing. Maybe they go out and look for another goaltender, a free agent, maybe to make a trade as well. Whatever it might be, the Canucks have a goalie situation, and it's going to get quite complicated. But what's your guys' thoughts on this? What's your thoughts on Silovs not making Team Latvia? What's your thoughts on the Latvians team head coach speaking out on Silovs as well. Let us know down in the comments what speaking on comments. We'll get in everyone's favorite topic, which is comment of the day. Comment today comes from Nobody Important 74, and he goes on, and you can pause and read through this. I won't read the full thing, where he says that he subscribed for reasons. The videos are under 15. You talk normally. Some podcasts just kind of go on with an announcer's voice or stall time. He does say you guys talk too fast. Listen, me being from Newfoundland, we're known for talking fast. We're both East Coasters. Talking fast is in our blood. But the biggest thing is just seeing the comments, seeing you guys enjoy this is so awesome to read. You said you can say that Nobody Important likes your podcast. Listen, nobody. If you're watching our podcast, you enjoy our videos, you are someone important, so keep that in mind. But if you want to go down and leave a comment where you're watching from, what you like about this, what you don't like about it as criticism, you can as well. It could be featured on the next episode of Comment Today, like Nobody Important, or should I say somebody important left today. Why down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We're trying to reach 4,500 by Sunday, so make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. But I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host Griffin, and take care.